Hello, and welcome to my first video. For this first video, I'd like to take you through my journey towards LeanFIRE here in Denmark so far. Now, the way I'm going to do this is showing you my big spreadsheet I've been using to keep track of my net worth and various assets so far, and show you how that's been developing over time. Now, if you're not Danish, these numbers will be in Danish kroners, and to convert them to dollars, what you can do is simply divide the numbers by 6.2, which is where we're at right now, but I hope that's not too distracting. Okay, so let's get into it. Yes, here we have my big chart with everything I recorded so far. And first of all, this big graph here in the middle is showing basically my my development so far. I started September 2015, and since then my portfolio has grown, or my net worth has grown to 2.2 million approximately. Now this graph shows a distribution of my assets. So you can see the big large red area here is my main brokerage. The blue down here is another brokerage, small one I have in a tax advantage account. And the yellow area here is my my value in my home. That means the amount I've paid off on my home. And the green area here is my pension. Okay, so let's dig into some details here. Yes, so the highlighted row down here is the last month, the end of April, where I last fully updated my my net worth. And the most important rows here is perhaps my income here, my main brokerage account here, and the total, of course, of all my investments and otherwise. Yes, so to have a quick look at some of these values I have, for example, this one is how much I've been investing each month. You can see in April I invested 30,000 kroners. You can see my various bank accounts, my current mortgage, other debt, very little there, my pension. And one interesting thing when you look at my pension is, of course, that there's a big jump here where I had 124,000 and I moved down to 1,000. And I simply chose to pay out my pension into my normal account and pay the 60% penalty for that. And I will go through in a future video why I did that. You can also see it here, the green area suddenly disappearing, and the red up going up somewhat in consequence. And yeah, I'll get back to that in a future video if you're interested. But yeah, I also have my tax advantage account. This is called an aktiesparekonto in Danish, where we can have a lower tax rate, but it's taxed every year instead of on realization. My main brokerage here is Nordnet. It is a very popular website, one of the two big ones among investors here in Denmark. It's an online bank and very user-friendly and good prices there. I also have some crowd lending here on a website called Indino. This column here shows how much I've been spending each month. And you can see I have a very big spending month in April, but my average I've put up here is about 8,000 a month in Danish kroners. This is showing how much is put into savings, so that's not included in the spendings. And of course my saving percentage, which is an average of 71% so far. I also have some returns here. My returns year to date I calculate on my investments. I have some crypto assets as well, which is doing pretty well recently. I have some cash. There's also a lot of cash in the recent months because I had some windfall. And my value in home, which is basically the home value minus my debt, and how much my net worth has increased this month or each month. My dynamic target, I'll get back to that when we look at the other graph. My projection for how much I expect to have in the future, and of course my total we talked about, how close I am to my listed target, how much income this could generate me per month using the 4% rule after taxes, and how much I expect this to increase by itself per month based on average stock market returns, so 7 to 9%. Yes, so that's the graph. If we scroll up a bit, we can see I started here in 2015. I had 15,000 to begin with, and 11,000 of that was in debt. So not a lot starting with when I started investing right after my university education finished. And then I've slowly been investing. We can see here, I didn't keep track of all the values here, but in the beginning I invested around 10 to 12,000 a month. Yeah, and since then things have been going pretty well. Yes, so let's look at this graph over here. So this is basically projecting into the future and looking into the past, how things have gone. And the yellow line here is the total we saw in the previous graph. The blue line here is my mortgage. And as you might be able to see here, I am planning on a big house purchase, or we already have completed a big house purchase that we will move into in September. And as a consequence, my mortgage will increase quite a bit. But my spendings actually won't increase that much. Yes. The red line here is my simple projection of given average stock market returns, how much can I expect? And the green line here is a calculation of how much money I need given the 4% rule to give, using my previous spending, average spending as a result. So here, my spending has been slowly increasing for this period here, so the necessary amount of money I need has gone up. And right now it's at 3.8 million, and that is a very conservative number. Yes. So that pretty much shows the progress so far in the raw numbers. What I would also like to do is to go into this LeanFIRE Sim website here, where we can run some simulations using the 4% rule. Some of you might know this website already, but it's basically a website where you can input your earnings and your expected expenses, and you can simulate if I retired in 1991, would I've had enough money to live off? And I would have ended with, in this case, I would have ended with 8 million. So this says dollars, but you can just ignore that and treat everything as Danish kroners. It also shows my spending. So if I retired in 1819, this is what my spending would look like, inflation adjusted. And I can explain on the next page why the spending looks like this. Okay, but the big important number here is what is my success rate if you take the average of all these numbers, and it is at 85% right now. So if I retired with my current portfolio, I would have 85% of never running out of money in my given life expectancy. But that's of course including a lot of input here, a lot of expectations. So I'm saying I'm retiring this year. I will end my retirement, my life in 2075. I'm currently 31 years old. My portfolio value is around 2.2 million in Danish kroners, and my initial yearly spending, discounting mortgage, is 92,000. Now it's actually a bit lower than this, but I am including the taxes, around 12% in taxes, that I will have to pay on when I pull out my money from my investment account. And in a future video, I will tell you how I get that 12% from, since the Danish tax system is pretty complex. I think it deserves its own video. But adjusting for taxes, this is my yearly spending for me and my wife. I am actually married, given plus the taxes here. I'm assuming I have 98% in stocks and 2% in cash. I am assuming no pension here, even though we have a fairly generous government pension here in Denmark. I don't want to rely on that for my future retirement. Then I have my wife's earnings. Her earnings right now around 35,000 a year in her part-time job, and her earnings in the future, which is about 160,000. What we expect, because she is expecting to work full-time for about 4 years here. And that is necessary for, a couple of things. So that is what I'm including for not my own income. And then I set this number up here was without mortgage, because I am including my mortgage down here. And in Denmark, we can get this mortgage where it is basically principal with, you are not paying back the principal for 10 years, and then after the 10 years you start paying down the principal. So for the first 10 years I only have to pay the interest, and that goes on for 10 years here, and then after 10 years I start having to pay both the interest and the principal. So here the mortgage increases quite a bit. And I will also go into my choice of this mortgage, and we also haven't actually settled on this mortgage just because we haven't signed up for it yet, but I will go through this in a future video. But yeah, we can see because the mortgage here increases after 20 years like this, the spending looks like this. So for the first 10 years here, the spending is fairly low, around 130,000, and then the next 20 years there's a much larger spending. Now this goes down per year because remember this is inflation adjusted, and given historical inflation you can see that the mortgage doesn't increase with inflation, of course, the payments. So the payments actually go down every year, and you can see that's quite a big effect here on the actual after inflation spending. And after I paid off my home, my expenses go down to these 92,000. Now I can also play with different models for like how I want to spend, and in reality I will adjust my spending based on the market and our portfolio size. But this is just the simplified version. Yeah, so it's very interesting. We can try setting my portfolio value to 3.2 million instead, add another million, and see that my success rate actually gets to 100%. So around 3.2 million is what I need given historical returns to have 100% success rate. And we can look at my projection over here. When will I have 3 million? Well, given average stock market returns, I will have 3 million, we can see in the upper right, in June 30th, 2022. So that is basically in a year, if everything goes as planned. But I am not relying on that. But 85% already is pretty good. Yes, so I think that covers all I wanted to say or show with this simulation here, and to show that I'm actually pretty far on my journey. And if all goes super well, already in a year, I might expect to be able to retire. Okay, that covers my very first video. Thank you for watching. If you have any subjects you'd like to hear about LeanFIRE here in Denmark, then put them down below. And otherwise, just thank you for watching, and if you'd like to see more, make sure to subscribe. See you next time.